It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and other comics from all over. We ended up in Japan because you can give a man a fish and feed him for a day, or you can teach him to fish and feed him for a lifetime. Or you can teach a man to torture a fish on the dinner table and employ him as a Japanese chef. The Talk Funny podcast from NagoyaRadio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Mark Bailey, back with Mike Miller on Talk Funny.
Great to be back.
We're talking about WKRP, one of our favorite mutual sitcoms. I also love Taxi, but WKRP, of course, made me want to go into radio. And there's a movie called FM. I don't know if you remember that. It had Martin Mull in it.
I never saw that one, no.
Martin Mull, it was basically WKRP, but Martin Mull did the part of, who's the crazy, wacky DJ?
Johnny Fever.
Yeah, Johnny Fever, the actor's name.
Howard Hessman.
Howard Hessman.
He passed away recently.
Yeah, he did. I met him. He's a nice guy. But those stories were not made up. I mean, they were all based on real stories. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the turkey episode where Les Nessman, at the end, the punchline is, for Thanksgiving, they were going to drop turkeys,
from
live turkeys.
Yeah.
And the punchline is, I really thought turkeys could fly. Don't fire me. But that actually came from chickens. A New Jersey radio station had a chicken. It was like a new chicken place opening, and they're dropping chickens. And they said, you could get a chicken. But chickens can't fly from 1,000 feet. They can't fly.
Oh, my God.
They drop like a stone. I mean, they're heavy, right? These are plump hens. That really happened.
And did they hit anybody?
They got sued. Yeah, they hit people. It hit cars. It caused accidents. And they had it was a huge lawsuit, and the radio station went under.
Wow.
It was a program director. It was a friend of mine. It was his idea.
Wow.
Logan's friend.
That's surprised.
Logan goes, sounded like a good idea to me.
Yeah. What was Logan on at the time?
Mushrooms. He wasn't in reality. And that happened. Skinny Bobby Harper is a DJ. He was my idol in high school, and I asked him if I could interview him for the high school newspaper. So I interviewed him. By this time, he was no longer a rock god, but at the time, he was like the classic rock guy. By now, he was in the, what do you call it, MOR, they called it, Middle of the Road.
Oh, yeah.
Air Supply, Fleetwood Mac, kind of VH1 kind of music. And I interviewed him, and they said, are you happy where you are now? And I'm a high school kid, so I didn't really understand the word option. So he said, I've got options. And that's the quote I thought, well, that's a good quote. What I thought he meant by that was, I've got opportunities, and, I could do whatever I want. I thought it was just a positive thing.
Yeah.
But the managers, his agent, and the PD saw that and said, I've got options. Like, I'm optioning for other radio stations. Yeah. And he got fired because of my interview.
That was in the school newspaper?
Yeah.
And they found it in the school newspaper?
Yeah, they found it. Because I sent him copies to him and his boss.
And it was just lying around in the...
To him and his boss. Which sounds like a real Machiavellian move, but there's no way I could have taken his job. Yeah. I'm still in high school.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, they would probably never would have found out if you hadn't sent them a copy of the article.
He said, my secretary thought it was a nice article as well. She gave it to my boss, and he didn't like the article. So guess what, a-hole? I'm fired. Thanks a lot. He goes, oh, you think you're going to take my job? And I'm like, no, that's the saddest part. I can't even take your job. Nobody wins. He goes, you're an idiot. He goes, nobody wins. He goes, I can understand this before Howard Stern, but it's very much like Talk Radio, the movie. If you remember, the guy who became the star antagonized, it was based on Howard Stern, actually.
Okay.
But there was a real guy in Colorado who actually got a death threat. Anyway, they had an old guy like Don Imus or some old guy or Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. And this guy would call up. He wanted to be the new host. Call up and prank him. Go,
I see.
What's the rest of the story? So then I'm banging my mom. What's the rest of the story, Paul Harvey? This kind of stuff. And he goes, you have no future in radio. He ended up taking this job, right? And so when this guy, Eric Berdashian.
Yeah.
And when he got on, now he's the establishment. And he had a guy call him up in the movie, punking him, going, this is before Eminem. He goes, I kidnapped my girlfriend. She's pregnant with my baby. I'm going to choke her out and leave her in the lake. I'm about a minute away. You got a minute to talk me out of it.
Wow.
And the guy's like, okay. And he goes, don't call the authorities. So Eric Berdashian is like, okay, first of all, could you just pull the car over and open the trunk? I'd like to talk to her. And he goes, no, man, then you're going to find out where I am. And he goes, no, but you said she's blindfolded and she doesn't know where she is. I just want to talk to her, make sure she's okay, and maybe we could just separate you guys. Anyway, at the end, the guy goes, ha, I made it all up. I wasted your whole hour.
Oh, my God.
And that guy ended up taking his job.
Really?
So that's what Bobby Harper thought I was doing to him.
Oh, so I didn't realize it was that competitive. Like
It's nuts. So Bobby Harper thought I was doing that to him, and he goes, "You think you're going to get my job?" And I said, "No, it never even occurred to me." I said, "I wouldn't be able to get your job for 4 or 5 years, for 3 years."
I mean, it's one thing to meet your idol; it's another one to get your idol fired.
And he said, "Really?" I said, "Who's going to get your job?" And he goes, "Some guy from another city that you don't even know." He goes, "Why don't you get him fired?" I said, "I didn't know what the word option meant." He goes, "You're an idiot."
I'm in high school. Give me a break, man.
I later made up with him when I got on New York. I said, by then he was in his 60s. When I got to New York to do radio, and I became the program director, and I called him up. And his wife goes, "Yeah, he still hates you. He remembers you." And I said, "He can come on. He can come up." I said, "Another program director in New York. It's number one station. I can give him any salary. Any salary under mine." I said, "I can give him any salary. Just maybe do it a year or two." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "I'll ask him. He doesn't want to talk to you." So she came back and she goes, his answer was a self-reflexive verb. So I said, "So that's no?" She goes, "It's no." I said, "Tell him I wish him the best. I mean, what am I supposed to do?"
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't your fault. I mean, you didn't know what he was talking about. He's the one who said it. If he didn't want it to be written down, he shouldn't have said it.
I got options.
Yeah.
I don't have to stay here.
It's like
you said it.
Yeah, it's like the politicians that complain when the media reports something.
You took me out of context.
Yeah.
You mean when you said the Nazis were sometimes good people? Yeah, you took me out of context. But you said that. Yeah, but what did I say before that? Yeah. Doesn't matter. Merry Christmas. But before that, I said, I don't mean what I'm going to say.
Yes.
All right, well.
That's right. It was a joke. It was a joke.
You know, you've been watching my act now, Mike, for, 7 years on stage. I'm just going to say, you took those 7 years out of context. All the things I said on stage, you don't know what happened before then or what's going to happen after.
You got to see the entire
You don't
life.
know the end of the act. No, but you said that's my closer.
Yeah.
That's the end of the act. Yeah, but it's not the end of my acts.
Yeah.
I might have a super closer where I come back and go, I didn't mean any of that.
It's the standard line of people, like, you took me out of, like the Jordan Peterson fans, they always used to use that one. "Oh, you took him out of context. You took him out of context when you said this." And it's like, yeah, but I mean, people say a lot of stuff, and they give you a lot of context.
Clean your room, buddy. Clean your room.
Bucko.
He didn't really mean Bucko.
Yeah.
That's right. I still can't do a Canadian accent.
No, he's got a weird voice, though, too. He's got a Kermit the Frog kind of.
Clean your room, Bucko.
Yeah.
Bucko, it's not my problem.
Clean your room, Bucko.
Well, he didn't really mean clean your room. No, he meant, he said before, he means actually clean your room.
Yeah.
And then get your life together.
Yeah.
He does mean clean your room.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't mean that. Yeah, he does.
You're not taking it out of the context of his entire intellectual history.
So I'm only taking the meaning and the conditions under which he said it and the question he was answering. That's all I'm considering. But that's out of context.
Yeah. No, I mean, you shouldn't have said. That's the thing that people do that all the time when they're talking to reporters. They drop something. They just, because I think reporters are really good at building a relationship with the person, and they think they're just having a friendly conversation, or just having a conversation, and then it ends up in the newspaper, and like, how did he find out about it? It's like, well, you did say that,
There's a show I love. I've mentioned to you before. It's kind of libertarian. I don't know if it's down your alley or not. It's called No Agenda, and Adam Curry was a DJ.
Right.
Later became MTV.
He's been on Joe Rogan a few times.
VJ, yeah. He's got some conspiracy theories and stuff. But one of the things is media assassination. They will just say, Andrea Mitchell was asking this, and she was pressuring somebody about the Fed, and she was basically trying to make someone look bad when they questioned the Fed. Who's she married to? Alan Greenspan.
Yeah.
All right, so they'll tell you all the dirt that you don't know who's married to who.
Well, that's the problem with the media these days, is that, like you said, a lot of these people are married to government officials, and so even if there's no corruption, like on paper, there's still a link between them that
there's
can,
pillow
conflict
talk.
of conflict
There's
of
pillow
interest.
talk between them, all right? Claire Shipman worked for ABC, and at the same time, Jay Carney was a spokesman for Obama, the press spokesman, okay?
No,
there's
it's not
pillow
good.
talk. If he's going to quit a week from now, she knows it before Fox, before CNN knows it, right?
It's not a good idea.
What they said on No Agenda is that for some reason, when they go on podcasts, they think nobody's listening, and they tell the truth.
Yeah.
What? Whoa. Shouldn't have done that. And then they're surprised when people in media go, I heard that on your podcast.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to listen to my podcast.
We're just putting this out to the universe, but we don't expect anyone to listen.
They also said that when they go to Europe, they go to Deutsche Welle, they go to France 24, they go to RTV, they say the guys in the Pentagon, they just tell the truth. They're like, we don't know how long we're going to support Ukraine, but right now we stand behind them. Whoops, did you just say that?
Yeah.
In Europe?
Yeah.
You think somebody's going to hear that?
No one's going to listen.
And so No Agenda, they monitor all this, and they're like, here's what he said. And then they send it to ABC, and ABC says, here's what you said in Berlin. It was like, but I was in Berlin. How did you hear that? What's this thing in front of us, Mike? Looks like a microphone. How did you hear that? Why do you think I don't like my wife? I just said it live on stage.
But you didn't understand the entire context of Mark's entire life.
You have to see how it ends.
You have to see how it ends. You have to see him in the womb, coming out, the lights.
And when you see how it ends, you go like, 170 times, and then fed to the pigs. Mark Bailey, Mike Miller on Talk Funny.